For over a decade, Harold Ford Jr., the former U.S. Congressman and political analyst, has maintained a relatively private personal life, while he is no stranger to the public eye. His wife, Emily Threlkeld, has largely stayed out of the spotlight, but now after 16 years of marriage, she is finally breaking her silence. What did she reveal? Before we get to that, let's dive into the life of Harold Ford Jr. Harold Ford Jr. S story begins in the heart of Memphis, Tennessee, a city rich in history, culture, and of course, politics. Born into a family that was already a powerhouse in the community, Harold was destined for the political stage before he even knew it, and guess what? His father, Harold Ford Sr., had already paved the way as a long-serving congressman, and his mother, Dorothy B.S. Ford, was deeply involved in the family's legacy, but Harold wasn't just the son of a holy Ishan. He was the eldest of 5 siblings, which meant responsibility was part of his life from the very start. The Ford family name carried serious weight in Memphis, especially in the city's black community. It all started with Harold's grandfather, N.J. Ford, who didn't just run a funeral home, he built a network. Funerals weren't just about saying goodbye, they were community gatherings, a place where connections were made and influence was built. And when you're in a city like Memphis where politics runs deep, those connections can take you far. N.J. Ford even caught the attention of E. Crump, a powerful white Democrat who basically ran Tennessee politics in the early 20th century. When you have friends in high places, doors open, and the Ford family made sure to walk through them. Of course, with power comes drama. Harold Jr.'s uncle, John N. Ford, was a Tennessee state senator who, let's just say, got a little too comfortable with his influence. In 2007, he was caught up in the Operation Tennessee Waltz scandal, a federal bribery case that shook Tennessee politics. Imagine growing up in a family where politics was everywhere. Thanksgiving dinner must have been wild. Did Harold Jr. see his uncle's downfall as a warning, or did it just make him even more determined to carve out his own scandal-free path? Harold Ford Jr. had a front-row seat to the game of politics, learning from both triumphs and missteps. But how did he take his family legacy and turn it into his own success story? Stay tuned. Harold Ford Jr. didn't just sit back and enjoy his family's political legacy. He worked hard to build his own. After high school, he packed his bags and headed to the University of Pennsylvania, where he earned a degree in American history in 1992. But instead of becoming a historian or a professor, Harold had his eyes set on something bigger: politics and government. Fresh out of college, he jumped straight into the world of policymaking. He started as a staff aide in the Senate Budget Committee, getting first-hand experience in how Washington, D.C. really worked. By 1993, he landed Errol as a special assistant at the U.S. Department of Commerce, where he got even more exposure to the inner workings of government. But Harold wanted more. Heck knew that in politics, having a law degree could give him an extra edge. So in 1996, he went back to school, this time to the University of Michigan Law School. Juggling law school while preparing for a political career wasn't easy, but Harold was determined. There was just one small problem: the bar exam. Harold took the Tennessee bar exam while running for Congress, but he failed. He brushed it off, saying he'd try again. But as of 2014, he still hadn't did he ever really need that law license? After all, he was already building a successful career in politics. Maybe he figured his time was better spent making laws rather than interpreting them. Or maybe he just decided he had bigger fish to fry. Either way, Harold Ford Jr. wasn't going to let one test define his future. Harold Ford Jr. didn't waste any time making his mark in politics when his father, Harold Ford Sr., decided to step down after 11 terms in Congress. The timing couldn't have been better. In 1996, young Harold jumped into the race for Tennessee's 9th Congressional District, a heavily Democratic and majority black area where his family name carried serious weight. Some might say he had a bit of an advantage. After all, his father had been representing the district for over 2 decades. But politics isn't just about name recognition, it's about proving you can do the job. Harold Jr. was the clear favorite in the Democratic primary, and since winning that primary was the same as winning the election in such a Democratic stronghold, he cruised to victory in November, and just like that, at the young age of 26, he became one of the youngest members of Congress in U.S. history. Once in office, Harold wasted no time getting to work. He represented Tennessee's 9th District in Congress for 10 years, from 1997 to 2007. Along the way, he built a reputation as a moderate Democrat, someone who could appeal to both liberals and conservatives. He became a rising star in the Democratic Party, even serving as the chairman of the Democratic Leadership Council, a group that focused on centrist policies. Harold Ford Jr. may have been young, ambitious, and politically savvy, but even the most promising politicians don't get through their careers without a few bumps along the way. One of the biggest controversies have faced had to do with, of all things, traveling in Washington. Even a Planet ticket can land you in hot water. From 1998 to 2003, Ford took over 60 privately funded trips traveling to various places for political and professional engagements. Now, taking trips is not the problem. Many politicians do it. The issue was that he reportedly failed to file the required travel disclosure forms with the House clerk as ethics rules demanded. And for 5 whole years, nobody noticed, that is, until the Washington Times decided to take a closer look in 2005, and suddenly it became a story. Now Ford's office had an explanation. They insisted that he had properly filed financial disclosure statements for the trips as they were taken. But by the time they officially filed the missing travel forms in August 2003, the damage had already been done. The media was all over it. Critics had a field day, and Ford found himself defending his record instead of focusing on his political future. But was this just a simple paperwork mistake, or was something shady going on? Did he actually break the rule, or was this just an overblown scandal that didn't deserve the attention? It got, whatever the case, it certainly wasn't the last time Ford found himself in the headlines for something other than his policies. The 2006 Tennessee Senate race was supposed to be Harold Ford Jr.'s big moment. He was young, charismatic, and just inches away from making history. As the first black senator from Tennessee since Reconstruction, the polls showed he had a slight lead over his Republican opponent, Bob Corker. Everything seemed to be going his way until that ad hit the airwaves. Now, political attack ads are nothing new, but this one, it was a whole different level. The National Republican Party ran a TV commercial featuring a blonde woman who claimed she had met Ford at a Playboy Club party. With a flirty tone, she winked at the camera and said, "Harold, call me." The implication was clear. The ad played into old racial stereotypes, hinting at scandal and making Ford's personal life a talking point instead of his policies. Even Bob Corker himself seemed uncomfortable with the ad. He asked his party to take it down, but they refused, and the damage was already done. The controversy shook up the race-shifting attention away from real issues and towards personal attacks. Ford, who'd been leading in the polls, suddenly started slipping. By the time Election Day came around, Corker edged him out by just 3 percentage points. But here's the thing. Despite the loss, Ford's performance shocked a lot of people. A young black Democrat had nearly won a Senate seat in a deep red southern state. That was no small feat, many political analysts saw. This as proof that Ford had the talent and appeal to go even further. In his career beyond his political career, Harold Ford Jr. stepped into the high-stakes world of Wall Street. He landed a job as a managing director at Morgan Stanley, one of the biggest financial firms in the country. It was a major shift from debating policies in Congress to handling big deals in corporate boardrooms. But hey, Ford was always known for his charm and intelligence, so it wasn't too surprising that he fit right into the world of finance. Then in late 2017, things took a sudden turn. Headlines started flying around that Ford had been fired for intimate misconduct. It was a shocking claim, and people were quick to jump on the story. But here's where it gets interesting. Morgan Stanley later put out a statement saying no intimate misconduct had actually taken place. So what really happened? In January 2018, the New York Times reported that Ford had reached a legal settlement with Morgan Stanley. The details were kept private, and the whole thing remained a bit of a mystery. Did he walk away on his own terms? Was there more to the story? Ford himself denied any wrongdoing and kept moving forward with his career. This wasn't the first time controversy had followed him, and it wouldn't be the last. But Ford has always had a way of bouncing back, reinventing himself, and staying in the spotlight, they say. Behind every successful man is a strong woman, and for Harold Ford Jr., that woman was Emily Threlkeld. Now let's be honest, Harold Ford Jr. had his fair share of ups and downs, from politics to Wall Street, but through it all, Emily was there. So who is the woman who captured the heart of this ambitious politician? Emily Threlkeld isn't just any political spouse, she's smart, stylish, and has made a name for herself in the world of fashion and public relations. She worked with the famous designer Carolina Herrera in New York, handling high-profile clients and making powerful connections. So when she met Harold, she wasn't just stepping into his world. She had built an impressive one of her own. The couple started dating and got engaged in 2007. Then, on April 26, 2008, they tied the knot, making their relationship official in front of family, friends, and of course plenty of political figures. It was a power match. He had the political background and she had the charm and expertise in public relations. Together they were a force to be reckoned with, but Emily wasn't just standing in the background. She was actively involved in Harold's Senate campaigns, helping shape his image and influence his public presence while he gave speeches and debated policies. She worked behind the scenes, making sure everything ran smoothly. After all, every great politician needs a great strategist by their side. The couple later welcomed 2 children into their lives, a daughter, Georgia Walker Ford, and a son, Harold Eugene. Ford III, with a young family and a busy career life, was anything but quiet for them, but through all the political storms and media controversies, Emily remained a steady presence, keeping their family strong. Emily Threlkeld has always been a bit of a mystery. Unlike many political spouses who love the spotlight, she has kept a low profile, leaving people to wonder, who really is the woman behind Harold Ford Jr.? Some say she's just a quiet, supportive wife, while others believe she's the brains behind the operation. The truth? Well, let's take a closer look. Long before she became Mrs. Ford, Emily was making waves in the fashion world. She wasn't just attending glamorous events, she was working behind the scenes, making sure Hollywood's biggest names looked flawless. She started her career at Nina Ricci, the famous French fashion house where she worked as a publicist. Imagine dealing with A-list celebrities like Jada Pinkett Smith and Renee Zellweger. That's right before she was shaping political campaigns. She was shaping red carpet looks. Her job wasn't just about picking out pretty dresses. It was about building brands, managing reputations, and making sure the right people were seen wearing the right things at the right time. In other words, she was a strategist, something that would later come in handy when she found herself in the political world after making a name for herself at Nina Ricci. Emily moved on to work for Carolina Herrera, another powerhouse in the fashion industry. She continued working as a publicist, helping to manage campaigns, promote collections, and keep the brand in the public eye. She was someone who knew how to navigate high-press environments, whether it was the fast-paced world of fashion or the unpredictable world of politics. But why did she walk away from all that? What made her trade in the glitz and glamour of the fashion industry for a life of political campaign speeches and endless scrutiny? Did she ever imagine that one day she'd be married to a rising political star and raising a family? In the public eye, Emily might not say much, but her actions speak volumes. She's always been one step ahead, carefully balancing a career, a marriage, and a family, all while keeping her personal life private. But how does she really feel about the spotlight that comes with being married to a politician? Emily has opened up about it a few times, and it's clear that she's a very thoughtful approach to living in the public eye from the get-go. She knew her life would be under a microscope. After all, when you marry someone in the political sphere, it's not just the love of your life people are interested in, it's everything about you. Your life, your opinions, your choices, they all become fair game. But Emily's reaction to this attention has been quite measured. She's not the type to shy away from it, but she also isn't out there looking for it either. In interviews, she's mentioned that, while the attention can sometimes feel overwhelming, especially during major political campaigns, she believes in supporting her husband from the background, not from the front. Being married to a politician comes with its fair share of challenges. There's the constant public scrutiny, the pressure to maintain a certain image, and the endless political debates at the dinner table. For someone who spent her early career in fashion dealing with Hollywood celebrities, the world of politics was a completely different stage, one that she'd never planned to be on. But what about the criticism that often comes with being married to a public figure? After all, the higher your profile, the more people have opinions on your life. Has Emily ever felt the pressure of judgment? Well, it's safe to say that she's learned to tune out the noise. She knows the politics world isn't always kind. And sometimes the spotlight can be harsh, but Emily's not the type to let that define her. She's a woman who's learned to prioritize what really matters: her family, her values, and her work. Emily Threlkeld isn't just a politician's wife or a fashion industry inside her. She's also a businesswoman with an eye for style and a heart for giving back. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a person who can mix business with compassion? Back in 2009, Emily took a leap into the world of entrepreneurship, co-founding a swimwear brand called Basta Surf. Now, this wasn't just another collection of bikinis. It was a high-end stylish brand built with the expertise of renowned designer Samantha August. They weren't just selling swimwear, they were selling a lifestyle one that blended elegance, adventure, and confidence. Imagine walking onto a beach in a perfectly designed swimsuit knowing it was crafted by someone who used to dress Hollywood stars. Sounds fancy, right? But fashion wasn't her only focus. Emily also played a crucial role in her husband's career, working as his director of research. Now let's pause for a moment. Imagine going from picking out dresses for red carpet events to analyzing political strategies and campaign details. That's quite the career shift. But Emily handled it with ease, proving she could succeed in any world she stepped into. And here's where things get even more interesting. Emily isn't just about business and politics. She's also deeply involved in philanthropy, giving back to the community. In meaningful ways, she has supported organizations like the American Cancer Society, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the New York Public Library, whether it's helping fund cancer research, preserving culture, or ensuring access to knowledge. She's made an impact in places that truly matter.